The debt ceiling negotiations dominating headlines, some may overlook the ongoing congressional investigation into the Biden family corruption. Now, earlier this afternoon, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer spoke by phone with FBI Director Christopher Wray as his committee considers holding Wray in contempt of Congress for suppressing a document said to detail a $5 million bribery allegation against then Vice President Biden. Joining me now to discuss this, as well as the latest on the debt ceiling agreement, is Congressman Scott Perry. He serves on the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, the House Foreign Affairs Committee, among other committees. He's also the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus. He represents Pennsylvania's 4th Congressional District. Congressman Perry, welcome back to the program. Always great to see you.
Great to see you, Tony. A lot happening in Washington today, as you outlined. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's
FBI?
Let's hit the FBI real quick. And what's the latest? What do we know?
Well, look, this is what we know. They have a document. It's confirmed. It's called the 1032, I believe, which outlines a credible claim of criminal activity by the then Vice President Joe Biden involving a bribe for a large sum of money. We know the document exists. However, the director of the FBI will not produce it, and has said he will not produce it even under subpoena. It is not a classified document, but he is citing, I think, sources and methods. And I would just say this. Look, this document belongs to the people of the United States of America. The FBI works for the people of the United States of America, not the other way around. This is not their document. This is not the director's document. This is a document that alludes to some credible claim that may or may not be truthful, and we need to understand exactly who made the claim, what the circumstances are regarding the claim. We need to understand what the Federal Bureau of Investigation has done in regard to this credible claim. Have they investigated it? What have they determined? If they haven't investigated it, why haven't they investigated? We need to know all of those things, and apparently the FBI is going to be recalcitrant and not produce it. So we're talking about contempt of Congress, which unfortunately is a remedy really lacking in accountability. But it's essentially one of the only remedies we have. At some point, I imagine there's a potential to refer criminal charges. But once again, we're dependent upon the very judicial system, as the FBI is a component of that, to police itself. No pun intended. So, we hope we're not in an impasse here, and that that all the American people can see what's happening here, so that we can know and not have any reservations about the President of the United States of America.
I mean, I certainly think it shows the lawlessness of this administration that the FBI director, the chief law enforcement officer, would thumb his nose at Congress' request for information. Now, this wouldn't be the first time we had Eric Holder, the Attorney General under the Obama administration, was held in contempt of Congress. And of course, that didn't lead to anything. As you've pointed out, it's kind of without remedy. Although, if they do come onto the House property, you could have the Sergeant of Arms detain them, and you have a cell there in the Capitol. You could put him in the hoosegow.
Well, and look, these are unprecedented actions, and unprecedented actions require unprecedented remedies. And so I'm certainly not thinking that we should be beyond that consideration. We're getting into the time where we will appropriate money, and if the FBI can't be bothered to be respectful to the representatives of the people, and look, if they don't want to give it to the legislative branch because they belong in because they reside in the executive branch, okay, well then give it to the American people. But the point is, it's not yours to keep forever, and not let the power of oversight view it and take its course. So, look, if the director needs to be thrown in the brig here in the Capitol, then that's what needs to be what needs to be happening.
Like you said, unprecedented times call for unprecedented action. All right, I want to move on to the debt spending bill. I want to play a clip from the minority leader Hakeem Jeffries earlier today. Clip number 5.
President Biden did an incredibly good job under difficult circumstances in protecting some key priorities and values for the well-being of the American people.
What else do you need to know?
Look, we're obviously very sorely disappointed in this arrangement at this point. As was our concern, the House passed a reasonable, responsible bill. We decided we would rightfully pay for the debts that others had created that we disagreed with, but they're still the debts of the United States of America. We would pay for them, but at the same time demand a change in our spending habits so that we don't find ourselves continually in this position. And it was the only bill passed here. The Senate never passed anything, yet we sought to negotiate. And I'm not beyond negotiation, but we got to be we should have been very careful. And unfortunately, I think what happened is we negotiated against our own position because it was the only position available. The Senate took up nothing. The Senate didn't come to work. The Senate didn't write a bill. The Senate passed nothing. Yet the Biden administration, Democrats in the Senate and otherwise, negotiated from a position as though they had passed something. They said, well, we want to increase taxes, but they never voted on that because it can't pass. They said, we want a clean debt ceiling raise, but they never voted on one because it couldn't pass. Yet we sought to sit down, not me, but our leadership decided to sit down and enter into negotiations with this folk. Ostensibly, I think for the good of the country, nobody wants to default, but unfortunately, this bill, I think, is very favorable to the Democrats. Essentially, for 2 years now, without any limits whatsoever, the Republican Party has just agreed to underwrite the spending, all the spending at an unlimited level of the remainder of the Joe Biden term.
So,
and that's not something I can support, nor do I think that any of us should support.
We're up against a break. We're going to have to leave it there. But one final question for you very quickly. Are the votes there to pass it?
I suspect you're going to see a lot of Democrat votes passing this. Yes, I think the votes are going to be, unfortunately, there. We tried to take down the rule. We were not successful, so I suspect this is going to pass the House. We'll see what happens in the Senate.
All right. Congressman Scott Perry, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
God bless you. Thank you.